Hello and welcome back to Unsustainable. Today I want to talk about the little things, because the planet's really held together by things most of us barely notice. While the big things like forests and whales and mountains and oceans and glaciers and coral reefs all matter, some of the most important work on Earth is being done by things so small we step over them, breathe because of them, or never notice them at all. Tiny organisms, tiny animals, tiny partnerships. Tiny bits of life doing planet-sized work. So here are 10 tiny things keeping the planet alive. Number 1. Plankton. Phytoplankton are microscopic organisms that drift in sunlit water and photosynthesize, a bit like tiny floating plants. And they're doing something enormous. A huge share of the oxygen we breathe comes from the ocean, much of it produced by plankton. They're also the base of marine food webs. Tiny drifting life feeds small animals. Small animals feeds fish that feed bigger fish, seabirds, seals, whales, and eventually a lot of us. So when you take a breath, don't only thank the trees, thank the invisible green specks floating in the sea. Number 2. Soil bacteria. Soil can look a lot like dirt, but healthy soil is alive. It's crowded with bacteria doing chemical work that plants depend on. Some bacteria help break down organic matter, some help cycle nutrients. Some help turn nitrogen into forms plants can use. That makes them tiny soil chemists. A forest, field or garden is not just plants growing out of dead material, it's a living community under the surface. The plants are the part that we see. The bacteria are part of the reason anything grows there at all. Very tiny. Very busy. And terribly underappreciated. Number 3. Mycorrhizal fungi. Now let's stay underground but move from chemistry to trade. Mycorrhizal fungi form partnerships with plant roots. The fungi help plants access water and nutrients. In exchange, plants share sugars made through photosynthesis. So beneath forests, grasslands and crops, there are hidden fungal threads helping plants eat, drink and survive stress. That makes forests feel different, less like a collection of separate trees and more like a living system with tiny exchanges happening underground. Quietly, chemically, fungally. Number 4. Bees. Bees are probably the most famous tiny helpers, and fair enough. They move pollen from flower to flower, helping plants reproduce. That supports wildflowers, fruit trees, crops, seeds, and whole ecosystems. A bee visiting a flower looks like a small moment. A little insect, a little bloom, a little bit of buzzing. But repeated billions of times, that small act helps hold together farms, gardens, orchards, and wild landscapes. Bees are tiny genetic messengers. They carry the future of plants on their bodies. Number 5. Krill. Krill are tiny crustaceans, a bit like a little shrimp. And in places like the Southern Ocean, they are astonishingly important. Penguins eat them, seals eat them. Fish, squid, whales, all eat them. A blue whale is one of the largest animals ever to exist, and its world depends on creatures about the size of a paperclip. That's one of the great jokes of the ocean. The giants are built from the tiny. Krill also help move carbon through the ocean as part of the marine food web. So yes, they are small, but remove enough of them and a lot of very large animals suddenly have a very large problem. Number 6. Mosses. Moss is easy to overlook. It grows on rocks, logs, forest floors, damp walls, old bricks, and places people walk past without thinking. But mosses are doing quiet work. They help hold moisture, they stabilize surfaces, they create tiny habitats. They help soils recover, They can be part of the first soft layer of life in places where bigger plants are not ready yet. A patch of moss can look like decoration. A green fuzz, a soft forest carpet, but close up it's a miniature landscape. A damp little world where water lingers, microbes live, tiny animals move, and soil begins to build. Moss is small, but it has patience. And patience is a powerful ecological strategy. Number 7. Lichens. Lichens look like crusty patches on rocks, bark, roofs, and old stone walls, but they're not simple organisms. A lichen is a partnership, usually a fungus living with algae or cyanobacteria. One partner gives structure, the other makes food from sunlight. Together they can survive in places that seem almost impossible. Bare rock, cold landscapes, dry places, exposed surfaces. Lichens can help begin the slow process of breaking down rock and creating conditions for soil. They can also tell us something about air quality, because many lichens respond to pollution. So that little grey-green patch on a rock is not just a stain, it's a survival alliance. A tiny collaboration turning harsh places into living places. Number 8. Dung beetles. Dung beetles don't have glamorous jobs. Their work is exactly what it sounds like. They deal with dung, but ecosystems need clean-up crews. Dung beetles recycle animal waste. They return nutrients to the soil. They improve soil structure. They can reduce parasites and flies. Some even help disperse seeds. So yes, they're basically tiny sanitation workers, gardeners, soil engineers and waste managers in one determined little body. And they do it without applause. Which is probably fine because most of us are trying not to think too hard about what they are rolling. Respect the beetle. Number 9. Earthworms. Earthworms are familiar, which makes them easy to underestimate. They tunnel through soil. They eat organic matter. They mix and aerate the ground. They help water move. They help nutrients cycle. They make soil less like compacted dirt and more like a living system where roots can grow. A healthy soil full of worms is doing something very different from dead, compacted ground. It's breathing, draining, recycling, opening little pathways for life. Earthworms are not flashy. They don't sparkle. They just quietly improve the ground under our feet. Number 10. Coral polyps. Coral reefs look like underwater cities. Bright, complex, crowded with fish and movement. But those cities are built by tiny animals. Coral polyps. Each polyp is small, soft-bodied, almost unimpressive on its own, but together, over long periods of time, coral polyps build reef structures that support some of the richest ecosystems on Earth. A reef is a shelter, a nursery, a food source, coastal protection, living architecture. And it's built by tiny animals working generation after generation. That's what makes coral so extraordinary. A reef isn't just scenery. It's not a rock. It's a city built by tiny lives. And when reefs decline, we're not only losing colour, we're losing one of the planet's great biological construction projects. So that's the strange thing about life on Earth. The biggest systems often depend on the smallest workers. Oxygen from microscopic plankton, food from pollinators, soil from bacteria, fungi, worms, mosses and beetles, ocean giants fed by krill, reefs built by polyps. The planet isn't held together only by the things that look impressive from a distance. It's held together by relationships. By cycles, tiny exchanges, small lives doing ancient work. Protecting the planet is not only about saving the big dramatic things, it's also about protecting the little systems that make the big things possible. The soil under the forest, the plankton under the whale, the fungi under the tree, the polyp under the reef, The beetle under the pasture. The invisible life behind the visible world. Sometimes the smallest things are carrying the heaviest load. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Thanks so much for watching.